6 then. So again, worth remembering that the most marks in the paper are in question 6. Okay, so question 5 and 6 were 30% of your entire GCSE. So really important that you allow yourself the time, which is 35 minutes, to get to this point, so that you've got plenty of time to go through all the different things that you need to do. Okay, so you're asked to persuade or argue. Okay, so the skill is to write effectively. So you're marked, like question 5, on language features, paragraphs and structure, and sentences and spelling. Okay, so in the same way, write A Forest when you start, FF, so firstly, finally, and the cheeky little wink of the different punctuation. So there's the little punctuation ruler or measure of all the different punctuation that you know how to use. Okay, you might want to jot down some golden sentence types there too. Then the next thing you do is you look at the question. What is it asking you to do? And who's it asking? Who's the target audience? So for example, write the text of a leaflet to persuade students to help make your college or school more environmentally friendly. So the language here is going to be quite informal, because it's going to be for people your age. So who are you writing for? And then what is it asking you to do? Well, it's asking you to persuade, okay? So here you absolutely really need to hammer the language features. So it's asking you to help make your school or college more environmentally friendly. So here you need to know what environmentally friendly means, okay? That doesn't mean a more friendly place, which is what lots of people took it to mean. It's about the environment, so recycling and those kinds of things, saving electricity, that kind of thing. So really important then that you plan in this kind of question so that you know where you're going, okay? So pick out 3 things to do with the environment. Okay, so remember again, these bullet points really help. They tell you what you are doing, okay? So look at them and use them. So what it asks you to do then is to use some good words to persuade that include language features, some organisation and paragraphs, spelling of common words, some control over sentences with full stops and question marks, okay? So I suppose that's spelling over common words as well. That's making sure you know your there and there properly, and your. So make sure that you know those. Use capital letters, those kind of basic fundamental things that are essential for good writing. And then excellent, it's making this very clear vocabulary, so really choosing the language that you use with really good organisation of paragraphs throughout, and you only really get that by planning at the beginning. And then spells unusual words correctly, so the golden vocabulary there is going to be really helpful for you. And again, the golden sentences uses a range of sentences accurately. So making sure that you really know what you're being asked to do before you get in there, and you're really conscious of that in your planning and then your writing. So spend 5 minutes planning, know what your paragraphs are going to be about, and be really mindful of what you're being asked to do. Don't just write, okay? Think really carefully before you do so. So, for example then, I sometimes wonder in my lessons where all the paper goes. I mean, teachers go through it like water. Wasting it is like wasting oxygen. I think our school should have an eco-warrior to stop this terrible waste, okay? We've got some vocab there with the terrible. We get some sense of there being an environmental issue related there. It's obviously about school. The language is appropriate for the target audience, which are people your age. However then, this is a better response. We need an eco-warrior, we need you, okay? Already there, more complicated complex sentences, and more engaging. Firstly, where does all the paper go? Teachers go through it like water, relentlessly photocopying rainforests to make dull worksheets. I think our school should have an eco-warrior to stop this horrific, senseless and boring waste. Okay, so we get a real sense of there being sentence variety here, and more unusual words being used, like relentlessly photocopying. We've got some language in the rule of 3, in the horrific, senseless and boring, as well as adding a little bit of brackets in there. That exaggeration really of photocopying rainforests gives us this sense of the environmental damage that is being done by the photocopying. So what I want you to do now then is to stop here, and I want you to write out this response. I want you to finish off this response. Where's this person going? So make sure you plan what you're going to do for 5 minutes, and then just spend 30 minutes writing out a response to this. Okay, so top tips then, question 6. Timing, as ever, 35 minutes. The most marks are in this, the most marks are in this question. You've got to absolutely allow yourself the time to get through it. Use golden sentences and golden vocabulary. They're absolutely designed to get you through this. Think about the who and the what in the question. Who's the target audience? What am I writing? If it's a letter, it needs to look like a letter. If it's a script, which they have asked before, make sure it looks like a script. So think about the things that it's asking you to do. Don't forget paragraphs. Write that A forest, FF and the little punctuation thing. Absolutely hammer the language features in this question. So using a language feature of my own there, saying hammer the language features. Make sure you've got language features that are really strong all the way through. So really consciously thinking about the words that you use throughout. That absolutely has to be there, into argue or persuade. We're really thinking about really using quite powerful language. And then link again the beginning to the end. Think about how you might link back your beginning to your end. So for example, in this one, we need an eco-warrior, we need you. You can use a similar sentence at the end. We need an eco-warrior, will that be you? So having kind of link between the beginning and the end makes that really powerful and an obvious way to go through it. Okay, so here then are some examples of question 6 tasks that you'll be given. Look at them, go through them, write them. You've got 35 minutes. It's an easy little bit of revision that you can do. 35 minutes, go through, think about what you're being asked to do, and then self-assess using the success criteria here, thinking about actually what could you do. Where are the gaps in your knowledge? Do you need to use better vocabulary? Do you need to go back and think about some different sentence types? What can you do, and how are you going to manage that on the day when you've got just 35 minutes?